All right, we're going to talk about backing up your files to Google Drive. There's a number of reasons why you want to do this. You could be preparing to go on a break. You could be going home for the summer. You could be receiving a new classroom computer or teacher computer, or you could simply want to safely back up your files. There's no finer place to back up those files than your Google Drive. Now, every SMCBS employee has access to a Google Drive account. And that Google Drive has unlimited storage, and through a service called Google Vault, it has very, very strong cybersecurity and will keep your files safe. And since it's cloud-based, you'll have access to those files from any computer that has an internet connection. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to do is boot up our Chrome browser. That's a little pinwheel looking thing. So we're going to boot up our Chrome browser, and we're going to log in to our SMCBS account. And once we're logged into that account, we're going to go to our Google Drive. Now, we're going to be working out of our Chrome browser and Google Drive and out of our Windows 7 computer and the Explorer, your computer interface. So I'm going to show you a good way to get that set up, especially if you only have one monitor to work with. So we're going to take our Chrome browser, and we're going to left click one time up here at the top on this bar at the top. We're going to left click one time and hold, and we're going to drag the window over to the right. Once we see the screen sort of light up a little bit, we're going to let go, and it perfectly resizes the window to be half of our screen. Okay. Now, while we're inside of our drive, I'm going to go ahead and hit New and New Folder, and I'm going to name it Backup. And in this instance, I'm going to put a 00 at the front so that it shows up at the top of my list, so it's easy to keep track of during this tutorial. So this is my HP laptop, so I'm going to call it HP Backup. And then since it's April, I'll call it April 2017. I'm going to hit create. Now you'll notice that this folder is private. That means it's not shared with anyone else. And that's really good because everything that we upload to this file or this folder is going to stay private until you decide what to do with it. So very safe, very secure. So I'm going to double click on that. And now I've entered the folder. Down here at the bottom of my Chrome browser, there'll be a little bar. I can left click, hold, and drag to go kind of back and forth. I'm going to move over to the right-hand side so I can see where it says drop some files here. Okay. Now, let's explore our computer because we've got to find the things that we want to back up. On a Windows 7 machine, in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, there will be some icons. We are looking for a yellow folder with a blue metallic clip around it. That is the Windows Explorer. I'm going to click it one time, and it brings up this window. Now, just like we did before, we're going to resize this window by going to the top bar, left click and hold, and we're going to drag it all the way to the left. The screen lights up a little bit. We're going to let go, and now it is sized to be half of our screen. So we have Chrome on one side, we have our computer on the other side. This will make dragging the files over much easier. Now, if for some reason these windows sort of disappear on you, go down to the taskbar at the bottom, and simply clicking on that Chrome browser will bring it up again. And again, clicking on the Explorer icon will bring it back up again. All right. Users generally store their files in 6 different places: in their desktop, in their downloads folder, and then their documents, music, pictures, and videos. So we're just starting right at the top with desktop. So let's go over to our right-hand window, which is our Google Drive, and we're just going to right-click right in the middle and choose New Folder. And I'm going to call this new folder Desktop. Okay, Desktop has been created. I'm going to double-click on it, and up here at the top, you can see that Desktop is inside of the backup folder, and it is inviting us to drop some files here, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's go over to our left-hand window, which is exploring our computer, In the top left, there will be something called favorites, and there should be something called desktop underneath there. If I click on that one time, it creates a list of everything that is currently on my desktop. Now, some people might say, whoa, why don't we just drag the entire desktop over to our drive? Well, that doesn't necessarily work because you don't want everything from your desktop to be backed up because not all of it is useful. So we're going to figure out a good way to sort and organize this stuff. In this Explore window at the top, sort of towards the right or the middle of your screen, you're going to see Search Desktop. Underneath that, there will be a button that says Change Your View. You'll have a little drop-down arrow next to it. I'm going to click that drop-down arrow, and I want to select Details. Now, Details will present us with a lot of information. We've got name, file size, item type, and a few more bits. We're concerned about seeing the name. The size definitely helps, and then item type is what we're after. You can click those words, item type, and it will sort and organize your files by item type. Now we can see things that don't have an item type, you don't want to back those up. Those are things that are a part of the computer's operating system, so we certainly don't want to try to back those up. These shortcuts, well, they don't really do anything once they've left the computer, so backing those up isn't going to help. But we do want the rest of the stuff that's located. And to grab all these guys at once, I'm going to use a technique called Shift Select. So the first step is to select the first item, then hold down the Shift key and select another item further down the list. Now everything in between those two items will be selected. So in this case, I've selected these 8 files that I want, and I'm going to drag them over. You can see a pop-up window appears, and it is explaining to you how long it's going to take to upload the files and give you a progress report on the different files. Now, for this tutorial, I had a pretty clean desktop, just 8 files kind of mixed in there with some other stuff. Not everyone's desktop is like that. Some users store everything they own on their desktop. Regardless, when you are dragging files over, you want each batch, that is to say each group of files that you select and drag over, to finish uploading before you drag some new ones over. And the reason for this is that you don't want to overwhelm Google Drive's upload tool. Now, it's a very powerful tool. You can certainly drag gigs and gigs and gigs of information over, and it will do its best to make sure that all those files are brought over. If some of the files you selected are actually folders, and the folders have more folders inside of them, and so on and so forth, you drag those over, it will recreate all the folders inside those folders, all those files. It will make a duplicate of them and put them onto your Google Drive for safe storage. It can take time, though. If you have several gigs worth of files that you're uploading, it's not going to take 1 or 2 minutes. It's going to take many hours. In some cases, it may take overnight for it to finally get everything uploaded. Another reason you want to wait till it's finished is because depending on your connectivity and the amount of files you're trying to upload at once, it may not get all the files in one go. If that's the case, it will say X number of uploads complete, but underneath that will be a message that says Y number of files did not upload successfully. Now there will be a retry button that you can click, and it will go back and grab the files that it missed and upload those for you. So there is a little bit of patience involved in this, especially if you're trying to back up a tremendous amount of information. All right, another thing to point out is Google Drive is now smart enough to overwrite files. So if while I was selecting things to upload, I dragged over duplicate files, it would simply offer to update the existing ones, that is to say overwrite them, or I could tell it to keep separate copies, in which case it would create a little parenthesis number 1, parenthesis number 2 to keep the files separate. So in this case, I'll say go ahead and update the existing ones just in case. So it goes through and it overwrites the files for me to make sure that I have the most recent and up-to-date versions. A very convenient feature of Google Drive. All right, once I'm done with desktop, I would simply repeat those steps for the other areas of my computer. So in this instance, I would click the backup folder. I would right click and create a new folder. And this time we'll do documents. So I'm going to call it documents. I'm going to double click on documents to go inside. I'll close this upload window so I can see what I'm doing. So over here on my computer, I would go down to libraries and I would select documents. And you can see I have a lot of documents here. Now, I say that, but in reality, a lot of documents you'd be scrolling down forever. There'd be folders inside of folders and so on and so forth. Here, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can select things. We've already talked about shift select, where you select a file, you hold down shift, you select another file, and it grabs all the files in between those files. Pretty useful. Another thing you can do is if you want to select everything inside a folder, you click any one of the files in there and then hit Control A. So you hold down Control, you hit the A key, it will select all of the files in the folder. Another thing you could do is if you need particular files or need to remove particular files, you can Control Select. And that's where you hold down the Control key and you click the files that you want. And this will actually only select those files from the list. This can be done in reverse. So if we had selected everything but decided that we did not need the Zoom folder or the custom office templates or this PayPal history, we could Control click to unselect them. Then we could drag over the files that we want to back up. And you would simply rinse and repeat this for all the files that you want to back up. So you would create a desktop folder, a downloads folder, a documents folder, a music folder, a pictures folder, a videos folder. Maybe you have an external drive and you want to back up things from that. You could go to your backup folder, you could create a new folder, and you could call it external drive. Assuming you've plugged your external drive into the computer, you can navigate to it and then grab whatever you needed from that drive and drag it over to that external drive folder, and it would back it up for you. So hopefully this explains the process of backing things up and presents a pretty good workflow that a user with a single monitor and a lot of files to back up can follow and be successful. If you require any additional help, please reach out to the tech in your building, or you can email dmt@smcps.org, and we will be happy to assist you and answer any questions that you might have.